which is section 4, and there are 4 interpretations here. Although good, I remember my pastor that I surrendered to preach under. He would question me. It'd be like, well, Revelations, because I preached some out of Revelations. We'll come to that later. But whenever I first surrendered to preach, he said, well, the question is Revelations in order? Is it spiritual or literal? He would put some things in my mind that would make you think. And so, and then, like the rapture, he said, there's a pre, mid, a post, there's a all rapture, and then there's a progressive rapture. So it put thoughts in my mind, make me think. I hope that's what he was doing. I hope he didn't believe in and some things that were kooky, but he would put some things in my mind, help me think. And so, although good expositors differ on the details of the book of Revelations, when it comes to the broad interpretation, there are 4 major systems. Brodus lists 7 theories of interpretation, and Tregelles lists 3. Number 1, the preterist interpretation is that all of Revelations has been fulfilled in the past. It had to do with the local references in John's day and with the days of either Nero and Domitian. Remember in the Olivet Discourse, one of his apostles ignorantly and mistakenly asked him 3 questions. He should have asked him one at a time. He asked him, when shall these things happen? When, let's see, what was the second question? I remember the last question, when will your kingdom be set upon on the earth? And, when are, but anyway, he asked him 3 questions where he really needed to ask him one. And he talks about the destruction of Jerusalem at 70 AD. And so they think that, I'm sure that the amillennialists, I guess is what you would call them, those who believe we're living in the millennial reign now, they believe that the book of Revelations happened in 70 AD. And some people believe what happened by reading Matthew chapter 23 and 24, the Olivet Discourse. They think those things that it's talking about it in 70 AD, that, to flee to the hills whenever they cry peace, peace, and that kind of thing, that they're talking about the Great Tribulation period. So it's convoluted because one of his disciples asked 3 questions instead of one at a time. Everybody thinks they're talking about the tribulation period, but he talks about the millennial reign at the time. So but the Holy Spirit, he didn't straighten them out. But if you read it, it will straighten you out. If you read it in its context, the whole 2 chapters, rather than pulling out 1 verse. And there's no tornadoes in that either. I've seen people try to claim that tornadoes are a sign of this event in that time period. I'm like, please don't do that. Anyway, okay, this view was held by Renan and by most German scholars, also by Eliot. The purpose of the book of Revelation was to bring comfort to the persecuted church and was written in symbols that the Christians of that period would understand. Now, let me say that it was for the comfort of God's people, and it has been that for all ages. Not to hold the preterist interpretation means that you might as well take the book of Revelation out of the Bible, as it has no meaning at all in the present hour. This viewpoint has been answered and I think uh, regulated to the limbo of the lost things. That was one of the things Dad used to say is they didn't preach the book of Revelations whenever he was a kid, that it's a more modern thing. And so what it really probably started after World War II, they started preaching it. But as we're going to see here, that they realized that many of these theories were not accurate, like this one. Whenever after World War II. In fact, a lot of people thought during World War One, World War II, that they were going through the Great Tribulation period. If you talk to them, and so that was they kind of woke up and said, "Well, this can't be right." As we're going to hear here when we get to the pre-millennial section. But number two, historical interpretations, is that the fulfillment of Revelation is going on continuously in the history of the church from John's day to the present time. Well, I believe that there is a certain amount of truth in this as far as the seven churches are concerned, as we see this, but beyond that, it is obvious that the books of Revelation is prophetic. What he means there is we come to the seven churches that are in chapter 2 and 3. That's what I preached whenever that I was a young child, a young preacher. I preached the seven churches there. I always thought that would been a great doctrinal. Well, I wanted to do it for my bachelor's, and they were like, "No, you can't do that. That's too much material." And then, well, I said, "How about my master's?" And they were like, "No, it's too much for your master's." And so I thought, well, that would be a great doctrinal paper. I never did do my master's, by the way. I dropped out of Bible school 3 months before I got my master's, and I would have had to write a paper as well. But anyway, that's where I was. Number three, the historical spiritualist. They're trying to spiritualize everything. That's spiritualist. Okay. Interpretation is a refinement of the historical theory and was advanced first by Sir William Ramsay. This theory states that the two beasts are imperial and provincial Rome, and that the point of the book is to encourage Christians. According to this theory, Revelations has been largely fulfilled and contains only spiritual lessons for the church today. The system we know today as amillennialism has, for the most part, adopted this view. It uh, dissipates and defeats the purpose of the book. In the seminary of my denomination, that is McGee and not me, I studied Revelation in both Greek and English from the standpoint of the all-millennialist. It was amazing to see how the fact of Revelation could be dissipated into the air by just saying, well, these are symbols. But they never were able to tell us exactly what they were symbols of. That was their problem. The fact of the matter is that some very unusual interpretations arise from this viewpoint. One interpreter sees Luther and the Reformation a symbol that to another student pictures the invitation and the pictures the invention of the printing press. In my opinion, interpretation of this type has hurt and defeated the purpose of the book of Revelations. And I haven't really talked to two of my prior pastors that in depthly about it. I know one of them kind of got me off on the road of it one time, but I have a feeling that I had two pastors in the past that were all millennialists that believed that we were in the millennial. That were well, one that we were now in the tribulation period, and the other one, the other day, I heard him commenting, or saw him commenting that we're in the millennial reign. So, there are all millennialists around today, and I think Tucker interviewed one the other day as well. And it's interesting of that fact. He interviewed two people on the on this. Oh, I forget what the magician's name. Oh, Rich. Uh, whatever. Whenever he came out with that song that's about Revelations, it sounded like to me that he believed in a post trip. He had a guy on from Tennessee that believed it was an all millennialist. So there are those quite a few around that are all millennialists. And I remember Dad talking about it whenever we were at Beacon Hill in Somerset. There was a guy that was all millennialist in his he believed that we just wouldn't be a tribulation, wouldn't be a rapture. We'll just go into the millennial reign, and so that would be the what I was talking about with one of my pastors. He believes we're in the tribulation period now, so and we'll just go into the millennial reign. It will just get so good that we're gonna the world will get better and better. So we're gonna see they have backed off on that here. Now I've lost my place. Great. Oh, yeah. I was at the end of number 3. Number 4. The futurist interpretation is the view which is held by all premillennialists and is the one which I accept and present to you. It sees the book of Revelation as primarily prophetic. Most premillennialists follow a certain form of interpretation that conforms to the book of Revelations. We will see this in the outline of the book. It begins with the revelation of the glorified church. Then the church is brought before us, and the whole history of the church is given. Then at the end of chapter 3, the church goes to heaven, and we see it now not as the church anymore, but as the bride which will come to the earth with Christ when he comes to establish his kingdom. That 1,000-year reign that John will tell us about, it will be a time of testing, for at the end of that period, Satan will be released for a brief season. Then the final rebellion is put down and eternity begins. This is the viewpoint of the revelation, which is generally accepted. And one of the things I didn't mention, what he didn't mention, is there are those, like I said, that believe in post rapture and mid trip rapture, mid tribulation and post tribulation rapture. It was interesting. I was talking about that tonight. My first sponsees were post tribulation rapturists. It's kind of interesting. I think it goes along with this all millennialist or thing, or post millennial thing. Kind of goes along with Calvinism, because they were Calvinist, very staunch Calvinists. They weren't the kind that just talk about the sovereignty of God. They were very strong Calvinists. Really messed me up for a little while, and but they believed in post tribulation rapture. They would say that the tribulation was a time of pressure, because that's what it means. What in some places tribulation is interpreted as, translated as, and so they would believe that it was that the bowls of wrath that are talked about were the post tribulation judgment of God, where He poured out His entire wrath upon. He emptied the bowls, but that's where it comes in. They seem to be all. We're going to learn they're all the same thing. But I don't want to get ahead of myself and get in trouble.